and I'm with
Daniel Lucas.
Daniel Lucas, and we're going to talk about how to write for Daniel today
Oh my
a killer
goodness.
joke.
Killer joke.
So let me go over some, kind of basics on how to write a killer joke, and then then we're going to write one. What do you think?
I totally agree. And I
All
give you a
right, because
big,
I
big
know
hand
Daniel
before
really
that.
wants to do this, so this is something.
Yes, I'm going to give you a big, big hand,
So,
okay?
so I've got 6 steps on how to write a killer joke. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to come up with a relatable premise. So you want to choose something that's kind of a universal experience, like going to the grocery store or waiting in line, or something that a lot of people have to do, right? So, or, listening to Book 101 review, being the number one pod match host, all these kind of things are relatable.
Thank you.
That was a little bit of a joke there. No, but there's only one number one.
But it's true. Number two now.
So then what you want to do is you want to establish some expectations as you're telling the joke. So you want to set up a scenario that leads your audience down a predictable path, right? So you want to say, okay, I was at this grocery store this week and I couldn't use the self checkout. So I had to go wait in the regular line. And everybody is following you, right? That may all make sense. Yes. Why, but why couldn't you do the self checkout? Something like that. So
Yes.
then you want to create misdirection. So this is where, we start getting into the jokey part of it, right? You want to take the expected past and then you want to make a twist away from what, the logical thing was I waited in line, I got up there, I paid for my stuff, they put it in a bag and I took it home. That's the boring part. So at this point, you wait in line, you get up there to pay for your stuff, and all you have is a pocket full of Thai baht. And you're in Canada, so you can't pay with that. You need some loonies and toonies, right?
Yes.
And so, that's the twist. So then you want to hit the punchline, and the punchline should, be something that's, quick and sharp, and you don't want to have to explain it. You want it to be apparent, and so forth. So you've got that part, right? I'm not even making a joke. I just did the grocery store line because it's part of my example. But so then you also want to have specific details. So you want to drag people on this journey and give them a visual, right? So, I walked into the store. A plumber stumbled into a pet shop. You want to give them a visual in their head, right? So then
Yes.
once you have that and then you have your punchline and everything, you want to test it and refine it. So maybe you change a few things. Like, oh no, a Thai bot is not as funny as a Polish zloty. So all I had was a pocket full of Polish zlotys. And that's the coin, that's the currency for Poland. And so, so there you've got to think about how the audience is going to relate to it, right?
Yes.
So
Certainly.
you and I are going to we're going to craft a joke today. That's part of the
Okay.
prop. So I'm going to ask you, Daniel, what is a relatable premise that some scenario that you find yourself in a lot?
Cooking. Then,
That you're a chef, right? So you're
yes, cooking.
cooking.
Yes.
So everybody has to eat. Very relatable. All right. So now we're going to say, you know, I was cooking the other day and I was making, what are we making?
Making lasagna.
Oh, making lasagna. There you go. Making lasagna. A lot of people make lasagna, so that's good. So I'm making lasagna and I'm doing it the old fashioned way, the way my grandmother taught me, right?
Yeah. And what is it?
So you're setting
Tell
it up.
us.
So you obviously you're not Italian, Daniel.
Yeah.
right? So if people are seeing you and you start out, we're already giving a little bit of a twist early on because you're
Mm.
saying, I'm making lasagna, the way that my grandmother taught me how to make it. And so people are seeing, they're like, wait a minute, he's not Italian. And so we were already pushing towards that twist, right? So now we need to make the unexpected turn. So if you're going to make an unexpected turn, right? So if you're making lasagna, what would be an ingredient that you would probably not use when making lasagna, but may be something that people might use, but you certainly, that's not a typical lasagna ingredient.
Pork.
Pork,
Ground pork. Ground pork.
ground pork. So
Yeah.
you're like, I'm making lasagna the way my grandmother taught me how to make it, and we were all out of ground pork. So there's a little bit of a
Yes.
twist there, right?
Yes.
So so now we have to have the punchline, right? So you know we need to come up with something that's going to be, that finishes this twist.
Yes.
So what can we do here?
So lasagna usually they have this shit, lasagna shit, or instead of using spaghetti. Oh, spaghetti for lasagna.
They use spaghetti for lasagna. They don't
This
use the big noodles. They use
the big
the
noodles, yes. There's
oh
the big
okay.
noodles. So instead you're giving the twist. Instead of using the lasagna sheet, you're using spaghetti.
Use the
Oh,
spaghetti. There you go. So you go. So I had the red sauce. I had the ricotta. Uh, I didn't have the pork or the noodles. So I just used spaghetti, and we had spaghetti lasagna. Okay. So
it's
kind of
spaghetti
kind of
lasagna.
weird, right? I mean, it's
Yes,
obviously it's not a killer joke, but considering we just made it up 2 seconds ago, it's not horrible.
yes,
So now I know that you are from the Philippines, right?
yes.
So I come up with something here that would be uh, for somebody who's from the Philippines who's living in Canada. Okay, so I'm going to copy it here and I'm going to put it into the chat if I can here. Where's my chat at? There it is.
Here,
And then let's see. Oh, where can I paste my thing in there, Daniel?
chat there.
Oh, live
Right,
chat stream. There we go.
live
Got it.
chat.
So I take a look at it real quick. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to have you read it, and then I'm going to have you tell this joke.
Okay. I
Okay, so
will.
so take a quick look at it. So this is something that I prepared for Daniel. It's not the lasagna thing that we were just working on, but it is something that pertains to somebody from the Philippines who is living in Canada.
Yes. Should I read it now?
Now go ahead and tell us this joke. Do you like it?
Yeah.
First of all, is it
I
is it acceptable?
love it.
All right, so
Acceptable. So go ahead. I
go
will
go
read
ahead
it.
and read it. So, yay, Daniel, he's on the stage.
I moved from Manila to Toronto in January. My Canadian friend said, "Don't worry, you'll get used to be cold." 3 years later, I still wear three jackets and call my mom crying whether it snows. The only thing I got used to is lying to new immigrants when I tell them, "Don't worry, you get used to the cold."
There you go. That could be true. Is that true? I mean,
Yes,
I don't know that
true.
you cried to your mom, but
True. It's true. One of my first year. Oh, 3 months. Oh my goodness. I want to go home. It's cold.
because the Philippines is typically a warmer climate, and then in
Yes.
in Canada, it's usually pretty cold. So there's
True.
your all of the different pieces of your joke there. So you've got the setup. Obviously, you're from the Philippines. You moved to Canada, right? And then you have the temperature difference. Everyone can relate to this.
True.
And then you're like, and then here comes the twist. 3 years later, I'm still wearing three
Jacket.
jackets, and I'm
It's
calling my mom crying whenever it snows. But I just lie to everybody else who says, "Should I come to Canada?" because I'm lonely and I want them to be there with me. So there you go. So it
there
has
you
all the
go.
elements, right? So
True.
it taps into your shared experience of being from another country, from the Philippines, coming to Canada, right? It's you have your mom in there, which is everybody has a mom.
True.
The fact that you're don't like the cold. You came from a warm climate to a cold climate, and then we have the bit of a twist where you're basically, to keep everybody happy, you're just lying to them and saying, "No, it's not so bad." But you yourself are, not doing that well. So I've come up with 10 jokes for you.
Oh wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Bob.
And so I'm going to paste them in. Now, don't. I don't know that that's going to work too well because it's a lot of stuff there. But each paragraph there. So if we look through, uh, each one of them. So now, what I would work on you with is this is all cold read, so you're not going to get it first try, but is on your
Okay.
delivery, right? So you want to have
Yes.
this, you want to do this setup. So you're like, I'll,
Yes.
I'll be Daniel for just a moment. I'll read the first one here, Daniel. So
Correct. Go ahead.
my Canadian boss asked if I wanted to go ice fishing. I said, sure. I'm from the Philippines. I love fishing. Turns out that freezing on a lake for 6 hours is very different from drinking San Miguel on a banca, but I still caught more fish than him, probably because I kept praying to Santa Nino every time I dropped the line in. Did
Oh,
any of that make sense?
makes sense. Makes sense. I
So
see
then
the
you,
pancit.
yeah, it's kind of rhythmic in the
Yes,
delivery, right? So
the
you got to have a
delivery.
little
Yeah.
bit of a rhythm to it. So you're setting up. I'm my boss going to fish, which everybody loves, and you're like, well, wait a minute. It was again with the cold, I guess. Cold is going from Philippines to Canada. So here we want to go to the next one here, which is the
Yes.
starts with Canadians.
Canadians. Okay. I think I'm gonna do with my delivery sometimes. I don't know yet,
Sure.
but I will practice it.
Yeah, that's right.
Ca-
It's all practice.
Practice make you perfect, as I say.
That's
But
right.
anyway, I want to apologize if I will not execute the right Mr.
That's
Bob want
okay.
to.
It's fine. It's all cold reading, so don't worry about
Cold
it.
reading. Yes. Canadians get so excited when they learn I'm Filipino and say, "Oh, I love pancit." Then they come to me to my, then they come to my house and see my mom made enough food for 47 people. Pancit was just the appetizer. For the appetizer.
I
I
don't.
think
Do you know what pan? I don't even know what pancit is. Do you know what pancit is?
pancit is the noodles.
Oh,
Noodles.
noodles. Okay,
Yeah,
because
noodles.
I just started looking up relatable
Pancit.
things from Philippines. So,
We love pancit, so that's why
and the
I
pancit is just the appetizer for the
it was
appetizer.
there. Because everything is all pancit, from appetizer, main course to dessert. It's
Now,
all about pancit.
this next one here is got a little bit of Canadian culture,
Yeah.
Canadian what would you call it? Commercial culture, and then also Filipino commercial culture. You
Oh
want to read
wow.
that one? When I first
Yes.
arrived.
When I first arrived, my cousin told me Tim Hortons was Canadian fine dining. Oh wow. I believe her for 2 months until my coworker explained it's basically just Jollibee without chicken joy. I never emotionally recovered from this betrayal.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
So we
Tim
got Tim Hortons
Hortons.
and Jollibee in there.
Yes,
So, uh,
totally agree with this
do you
joke.
like Jollibee at all? Do you ever go there? Do they have
Oh,
Jollibee up there with
yes,
you?
we have a Jollibee here in Canada as well in the US.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Do
yes.
you
It,
like it? I've never been. So,
well, try the chicken joy. It's something
the
else.
Chicken Joy is really good. Okay.
Yes.
There's not one in St. Louis. There's one in Chicago, though. I've been,
Yes.
I've seen it. It's downtown Chicago.
Downtown Chicago, yes.
But I mean, there's
True.
more and so forth. But you kind of get the idea is that you're you're taking something that is relatable to the two um, different areas, right? So,
Yes.
and you don't necessarily even have to be Canadian or Filipino to enjoy a lot of this because a lot of it's just shared experience, right? So people know it's cold. It's there. It's kind of people know Jollibee is a Filipino restaurant. It's not a big secret or anything. So these are all known truths, and then you're just putting a little bit of a spin on it. But there's 10 jokes for you, so I'll send them over to you in the email too.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Bob. I appreciate that much. I- I'm learning too
You're
much.
learning exactly.
Yes.
So then, yeah, you don't have to worry about you know you don't have to, so basically it's all just shared experience kind of stuff. So a lot of times people will think about jokes and so forth and think they have to be overly clever or overly complicated, but they don't. It really the idea is basically to rope people in to a shared experience, and then twist up that shared experience like lasagna with spaghetti, and throw it in a different direction, and then people will you know it'll make them laugh because it's so absurd.
Yes. I learned, Mr. Bob, that if you're a comedian, you are clever because your mind is so fast thinking that you can relate and then you make a twist on it. But I think my mind is so slow.
No, you're so so I guess the homework for you this week, Daniel, would be to look at those 10 jokes and then
Yes,
take them and then come up with a couple of them for next week, just
sure.
from your head, right? So just take
Yes,
it's kind of it's formulaic in a little bit, a little bit formulaic, but take that formula and then make it your own. And food, right? And
yes.
books, and so maybe you go in that route, and you're talking about books or food, and just
Together.
craft a joke out of that. I was reading, I forgot who's your book 101 person that's coming up.
Angela Henry is my feature
Angela,
autonomous.
I was reading Angela Henry's latest book, and then all right, so then you've set up an author, and then
And then I
you take it
came
from
up.
there, and then you got to think of something clever.
Mm, and then I came up with nothing. That's a
I know
joke.
I'm putting you on the spot. It's okay.
That's
But
a joke. But
that,
anyway,
but it's not as complicated as people think it is. So, you don't have to overthink it. You just have to think about
go
what
to the
is
flow.
your experience and how does that relate to other people, and then you need to think, a little bit differently in the sense that how can I make this um have some type of a twist that's kind of funny. And again, you're not going to be funny on every one of them, you
True.
know. But it doesn't matter. Just keep going. It's just practice,
Practice make you perfect.
practice, practice. I think Daniel's got some vodka in there. So
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. We ask people, I salute you people who is doing standing comedy. You are so clever that your mind is so fast thinking to make people laugh, right?
Yeah,
For
but
me,
anybody can do it. I think it's kind of like
no.
cooking. It's in a sense, anybody can cook. I mean, it may not be as good as what you're cooking,
But
but you
everybody can cook.
can you somebody with the recipe. If you follow the instructions, you'll have whatever you're cooking will happen. You know what I mean? It's not going to. I mean, it may not taste as good or may not be as funny, but you can still get something done.
Certainly.
Words of encouragement there, Daniel. I'm
Thank you.
I'm anxiously awaiting our next show for you to give me a couple of jokes that you've crafted.
Yes. And please do listen to our next podcast with Mr. Bob Lement. We're doing our motivational 101. See what Mr. Bob doing now? Motivate me.
Oh
So
yeah, I
we're
was going to say
planning.
this is a little bit motivating there. You're right. Look at that.
See, Mr. Bob is a good fit for this podcast. Motivational 101 coming soon. Indefinite yet, but for sure we're gonna do it. And we're gonna motivate you in everything, being a comedian, being a writer, being an author, being a what else, Mr. Bob?
uh, a chef.
A chef, yes. We're gonna teach you how to cook lasagna.
Yeah, how to
Uh,
cook spaghetti lasagna, which just doesn't sound good to me necessarily.
lasagna.
But when you're in a pinch and you got no pork, what are you gonna do, right?
Ground goat.
See, there you go.
Ground lamb.
I was I was making
Awesome.
my famous my mother's recipe for spaghetti lasagna had no ground goat.
Awesome. Speaking of food, I want to
I substituted Timbits from
yes.
Tim Hortons and everybody loved it.
Certainly. Amazing, amazing. Killer joke, Mr. Bob. Speaking of food, I want to plug in my Food 101 in its fifth season. People, fifth season with Chef Alessandro, one of his specialty chef in one of five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen. Food 101, wherever you listen your podcasts. Oh, Mr. Bob, how about you? Would you like to plug in something?
Sure, you can always come listen to me talk nonsense at staticradio.com or join on Monday at 9:30 Central for on Plausible and see the show being made.
Yes, yes, I'm interested to that, but I'm busy, I'm fully
And
booked.
you're booked
Come
all
on,
the time. You've got you barely have a life. You sit in the studio all the time.
baby. Yes, so tune in next week, people. I will try my best to deliver what Mr. Bob taught me. Okay, I promise. So, Mr. Bob, thank you so much for your time.